the Council for Inclusive Education is a specialist council within the Alberta Teachers Association, we would like to start off our podcast with the ATA land acknowledgement. The Alberta Teachers Association acknowledges Treaty 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10 territories within Alberta. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations, including the many places that you are joining us from. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We recognize the land as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territories we are residing on or visiting.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to season 3, episode 2 of the Inclusive Chronicles, tips and tricks for building inclusion in Alberta. I am Jennifer LaCourse, and I will be our host today for this podcast. I'm going to pass it around to everybody who is online with me so that they can do their introductions. And I'll start with Areli.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Areli, and I'll be part of this. I'm part of the Council of Inclusive Education, and I can't wait to hear our rich discussions.
Kathy.
And Areli, you're our secretary, aren't you? My name is Kathy, and I am excited to be on a podcast for the second time. So clearly a veteran, and for the Council for Inclusive Education, and I am the conference director.
And now we'll go to Hannah.
I'm Hannah Jenkins. I am a member of the Council for Inclusive Education. I'm the webmaster, and right now a grade 8 math teacher. So help me.
Fantastic.
We make it work.
Absolutely. We are working on our book, The Station Rotation Model and UDL. So if you are looking at us on YouTube, you'll see that these fine ladies all have their book beside them. Mine is just a little bit out of reach. And if not, that is The Station Rotation Model and UDL by Catlin Tucker. We gave some away to some fabulous winners from different teachers conventions and stuff, but it is a great resource to have. So we're looking at chapters 2 and 3 through this podcast about understanding station rotation and elevating tier 1 instruction. So I guess we will start with breaking down the myth of busting the station rotation model. Like, some people think that it's only for tech-rich schools, and I'm wondering if you ladies have any comments about that as we go through this.
I have to say, on the very beginning of chapter 2, that title, "Not All Airbnbs Are Created Equal," just resonated so hard with the classroom because they're not. And thinking about tech in relation to schools, some schools have a lot, some schools do not. I'm really fortunate to work in a place where I have tech, but one of the things I found in my station rotation journey, especially with my grade 8 classroom, is sometimes the tech station wasn't always the answer. Still definitely learning, still training students. And it's that one station where, as an educator, and you all can probably relate, it's like the hands-off station. So there has to be some training involved. So my tech station started as not really computers. We moved away from it, and the tech became manipulatives. So it was like technology for math, but not necessarily online tech. It became manipulative tech. And that gave kids a little bit of an easier entry point, I found, at least with my grade 8s.
Yeah, because kids, we talked in this chapter about behavior and classroom management and keeping kids on task. I've started using it in my grade 5 math class. And I use a 4-station model because I generally have an EA with me. So if she can be at one station, I'm at another station. And then I have two other kind of like one offline and one online station. But it does take a lot of teaching because you get kids in front of the computer and the teacher's not watching.
Mhm.
They're not always making the right choices as they go through their tech stuff. So, Kathy or Ellie, do you have anything?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
go ahead.
jump in. I actually used this with a grade 2 class, teaching religion, so it's applicable to all subject matters. And what was beautiful is that we actually, when I first introduced it, we didn't have any technology, like, and it was made like as a conscious choice not to put that in because I was like, are they ready for it? Like, yes, they're always in front of a screen and whatnot, but like this is very much hands off, like Anna said. So we started with no tech and kind of went just with paper, pencil, whatever, very traditional. And then slowly we evolved to now having technology and the kids could totally manage it. So I don't think that whether you have tech or not should be seen as a barrier because I think you could do this model particularly with or without. So that's kind of what I found out with that.
Awesome.
Yeah, the I think what you're speaking about, ladies, is already almost taking us past chapters 2 and 3, which is great, as far as one might think that you're really it's really prescriptive uh, if you were only reading chapters 2 and 3, because she has to lay it out first, right?
Mhm.
And so, but later on, absolutely, we know that she goes about talking about how you can make it flexible for yourself and even diving in. We spoke last time about, this or that. Do you want to do this or that as the simplest way to initiate? And then Aurelie, you as well were intentional in your design in that you didn't bring the technology in right away. So it's amazing how you can immediately be intentional, which is one of the major points about using the station rotation model.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
thank
my
you.
kids are at a place now where we can use tech, and it that station itself became a this or that if they wanted to continue. If chapter 4 talks a little bit about like tiered instruction. So even within each station, not just the teacher-led station, you can tier 1 like really tailor that instruction for kids. So those who are ready to dive into different online modes, especially dealing with grade 8 math, there's always a lot of apprehension, especially math. It's always like, I'm not a math person, so they'd rather stick with the manipulatives or the building aspect before they dive into the online stuff. And some kids were like, no, I'm ready. I can do this extended online piece. And now everybody's online now that they're past the manipulatives. And it was really cool to watch, honestly. Kids love it. They ask about every day, are we doing our stations? Are we doing our stations, Mrs. Jenkins? Are we doing our stations? It's like, yeah, guys, we're gonna do our
Yeah,
stations.
we're gonna get there.
Divine
We're gonna get
Israel.
there.
Yeah, and you know what? Like you're touching on a really good point because I think in chapter 2 and 3, and I did go a little bit ahead of reading because this book is so good that
So good.
it was really talking about, why teachers are hesitant to dive into centers versus jumping into centers and what that means and whatnot. But I just found it was fascinating because just like you, the kids are craving it. Like they want it,
Mhm.
right? They're like, what are we gonna do? And then I took a time to pause after I had done it for a month and a half or so. And I kind of said, hey guys, like, is there something you like, something you don't like? And then really having that opportunity to kind of talk together. And if I could do that with a grade 2 class, I think that's possible for everybody, right? So it's really awesome what that kind of has opened up for my personal scenario with those little grade 2 kids.
I love it. It's so cool that this model and chapter 3 talks about like dispelling the myths of the station rotation. And that first myth is that it's an elementary model, and teaching junior high, I can tell you that it has been one of the most successful models in a junior high classroom that I've tried in a long while. Definitely a myth.
Definitely a myth.
Yeah,
And
I think that I think that that's so true, having taught in junior high most of my career. It's so much more engagement for the kids, and it's not just stand and deliver and then every 2 seconds, kind of talking to the kids about who's behaving and who isn't, and it becomes a completely different thing then. Whereas when you have the stations, they are engaged. They don't have to be listening to the one voice the whole time. And it keeps them sort of, what's the word? It keeps them, the students just, I guess,
Focused.
engaged and it just keeps them active and engaged and wow, that was interesting, as opposed to, oh, another 40 minutes with trying to listen and trying not to get into trouble.
Oh
And
yeah, and go ahead, Aurelie.
I
Yeah,
was just
sorry,
gonna
I interrupted Jennifer
say,
too. I
no,
apologize.
I love
you're
this. So
Just
you
like
so
guys
really
talk.
into
passionate
this.
about this book right
Yeah.
now.
I was just gonna say exactly to the point of behaviors, right? Like if we look at the complexity of most of the classrooms right now, you'd think like, oh my gosh, I can't do that because X, Y, and Z, right? But because the students are so involved and so engaged, I felt behaviors actually decrease significantly in a class because students were always engaged in the tasks they were doing. And then it was for a short period of time. So even if that was a task that they were finding a little bit more challenging, they knew that they were working on it for a bit and then they were moving on to something else. And that's such a powerful reminder and a reason why I think I'm so passionate about this book, because I'm like, that is exactly what we need right now in education, and probably needed 20 years ago and will probably need in 20 years from now. um it's a great model, and I found, like, yes, if you are hesitant to try it, please do not. You got to start somewhere, and that starts by reading the book.
Oh,
I,
absolutely. I was picking up
Ellen
that
might have to
quote.
like pay us to like promote her book. Like she's probably getting all kinds of sales on this right now. I can just keep talking about it. Can I interject just one
Of
like quick
course.
thing here? I I think one of the things that's really interesting about for me in my class, because I'm very focused on like self-regulation and doing like movement breaks and all of those things. I have short little chunks where they're doing their stations, and then it's like, okay, we're moving to our next station. So they're having to get up, they're having to move. And so now I've included this movement break into their rotation, into their class, and they don't even know what's happening, and they're becoming regulated as they walk to their next station because they're excited to learn about what's there. So like two birds, one stone.
Oh yeah. And with my eighth grade class, before we started rotations, I was talking about the idea in giving them a little bit of autonomy. I'm like, hey kids, there's this cool idea. I'd love for us to try it. And what we did together as like a class was decided where physically in our space the stations would be. So we had a discussion of, hey, if we're doing the practice station with math, where would that be most comfortable for you? Where should the teacher station be? Like, where would you like me to be for your comfort? Where would you like online or games to be? And we talked about all of that, and they picked those places. Like, I'm fortunate enough to be in a space where that was possible. Not, no, not every center has that, but it gave them a little bit of autonomy and ownership over the rotations. And so now I don't have to do anything. The timer goes off and we switch.
Mm-hmm.
And they just know because they picked it.
Yeah.
So ownership is like, it's wild. They really bought into it when we could
And
talk about it collectively.
how do you,
Oh,
Hannah,
excuse me.
have them, looking at the elementary school classroom where, there's everybody has a cubby and everybody or they can hang their coats up and blah blah blah. But in junior high, when they come to class with or no or with a binder or they don't. But how do you get those things out of the way when you're transitioning? Is there a special spot, or are you at that point yet? And it's okay to say that you're not.
Um, when we start, so we've just started in a unit in math. We're working on fractions now. And today was spent on a little bit of executive functioning skills, so binder organization. And then I walked through the materials with them. It's like, okay, this is what you're going to bring to the teacher station. We're going to put it in your binder. I have them all working in individual notebooks, so it's a different kind of visual from a handout. They all look the same. So kids are like, oh, when I go here, I bring this book. And then I gave them handouts for the practice station. And we organized the sort of manipulative station. Like I have a little cart that rolls with all of my manipulatives and games. So I make sure to explicitly teach the executive functioning piece first. And this morning, I'm like, we're ready to dive in. We have new groups, we have stations, we're ready to go. And everybody opened their binder, and I'm like, oh no, we're not ready.
Ready.
We're not ready. And I know one of the myths with the station rotation is that my time is too short. I'm a part-time learning support teacher, and I have my grade 8 math class for 1 hour a day. So I don't get to do the health piece, or I can't pull an extra 20 minutes to do X, Y, and Z. So we just do it in class. And so today, those students who really need that extra support with the executive functioning and organization got a chance to do that. And those kids who don't had the handouts and had a natural way to sort of do the extension where they were previewing the material before we've even started. So they bring their binders. We do a 5-minute whole class like station. I take attendance. I make sure that they're regulated. I talk about my expectations and the goal for the class, and then we start. So I have my kids chunked sort of high, medium, low, pretty typical. I'm hoping to change it, but right now that's where we're at. And I'll see my students who need the most support first. They get 20 minutes explicitly with me. And the stations are rotated around this group with the highest needs, because I can put my high kids anywhere with their extension, and they need time to sit with that and bring me questions. So they go first. You do practice and online first, then you can come to me with your questions, because I know you'll have them. And their station's only 15 minutes. So 5 minutes, whole class right at the beginning. Make sure everybody has a drink and a pencil and their supplies. Then we start our rotation. My first station's 20, and then the other two are 15. Because by the time my group that needs the most love and care and support and differentiation, their last station would be online or games, and then it's only 15 minutes, and they're like, okay, like I can breathe now. I did it. And then my higher students who started with the extension activity are at me now with all of their questions that they must ask before the bell rings. So I'm not at a point yet, because circling back around in this very roundabout way, where we can just dive in and do 20. I'm still doing that 5-minute check-in with my highest needs group, getting the full 20 minutes, and the other group's getting 15. So I hope.
But I think that's. Oh, sorry, you weren't done.
No.
I want to jump in because this is great.
This is a discussion. This is the point of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just I hope that we get to a point where they can just come in and do it. But with seeing them an hour in a day, math is at a different time every day. I just know I would rather check in and do a whole like, okay, are we ready? Ready, set, go, instead of just having them dive in. I'm done.
Really.
Promise.
All right, great. I was like, we're ready. What I was saying, like there is so many parts of what you just said that I 100% agree with, and I love it because you take the students who will require you the most first. So right there, you set the expectation for them. When you're in my class, I'm here for you. You also have to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of sending them to a station that might not be teacher-led, or there's no blessing of having an EA. So a place where they
Mhm.
would be alone, and it's probably really challenging for them. So then they would feel bad, and then they're like, oh, what's the point anyways? Especially if we're talking about grade 8 student, but that could
Oh
happen in
yeah.
grade 2 and grade 4 and grade 6 and grade 1, right? Like, so I love that you're purposefully visiting with them first and supporting them, and then they know that they can be successful in your class because you're there. And then after that, I bet it has a really positive impact on the other 2, 3, 4, 5 station that you might have time to squeeze in your allotted time with them. So great job.
And I do mine a bit differently just because I'm in elementary school. And so really we're only supposed to have half-hour blocks, but I'm like, we're going to do an hour a day, but I only do 2 stations a day. So I have 4 stations set up for my math, and I do 2. And then the next day they do the 2 other ones that they miss. And this gives me that opportunity to do a little bit of whole group, 2 stations, and then we actually have our play break in that time as well. So they get like a recess, but it's usually inside because to get them dressed to go outside is it's that's just challenging in that way. But they enjoy the play break, and then they do a little bit of journaling after about the play break, and I'm changing up their journals a little bit so that they're gonna like 3 things because it like I what is it called, like spoiler alert at the back of the book she has those like 3 things I learned, 2 things I've this, and then 1 question I have or whatever. So like I'm going to change their journals to be kind of set up in that way so then they can use it to help them with different things or whatever, which I'm finding is working really well. Like the kids really like the game stations that I put in for, like, we're doing multiplication right now. And so we're playing multiplication war, and we're playing multiplication bump, and we're playing all these different multiplication games where they're having to practice their math facts. And I've taken down all of my visuals of the math numbers, like the numbers with all like the multiplications on it, because some of them are very like dependent on it. And I'm like, no, we need to take those off because to be successful in grade 5, you have to know these by 3 seconds. And I'm going to teach them a game of baseball, multiplication baseball, which isn't in my station, but it's kind of like on Fridays, we just do games. And so all the games that they've been exposed to all week, then they get to pick their games to play. And it teaches a lot of different things, but I like having it on 2 day and 2 day rotations. It makes it a little bit not as fast paced at an elementary level.
And I think that's also the beauty of it, because if, people that are listening to this are saying, yeah, there's no way I could possibly do it for everything all the time, every day, right? There's just like, there's a million things on our plate. So, um, again, just diving in and trying it for even one subject,
Mm-hmm.
like you're gonna get a feel for that, right? And maybe start with an area you're comfortable with first, and then see how that evolves. So I just think like you can't go wrong with trying, because when you go wrong, or if you're like, yeah, that didn't really work, well, you're self-reflecting. As a teacher, self-reflection, we ask that from our students. So I think that when we are able to self-reflect on our practice as well, it only makes it more engaging for them. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
I love that, Jen. You're busting all the myths from chapter 2. Myth 2, there must be 3 stations in the station rotation. There does not.
No.
And then myth 3, my classes are too short to use a station rotation. No, they're not.
No.
Promise. How many grade 5s do you have in your class? Like, what's your kid count?
I have 22. So I'm actually blessed with a small class, but I have some really high behaviors, and I have like a gamut of learners. Like I have pre-K learners with like ability levels all the way up to probably a gifted grade 7 already. Like they're quite advanced in a lot of the things. So it can be challenging, and I like to do my groups. In math, I'm doing them more like same level learners. but I've been playing with the idea of doing like this in social studies just because I'm piloting the new social studies curriculum. And I figure if I can get my head wrapped around how to set this up into social studies, I would do multi-level learners. So it wouldn't all be like my highs in one group, my mediums, my lows. I would probably pick my groups a little bit differently so that they're able to support each other as they move through the different things. But yeah, I think I'm really really thankful that this came into my life because my class was hard, and it is hard to meet the needs of every kid with the diverse learning needs that I have in that room. And some can't even add with regrouping and asking them to go into multiplying. But now I can sit with 3 or 4 of them at a time and help them work through things, do some different activities, do some different hands-on things to help them move from the manipulatives into the pictures, into straight thinking, and building their math skills that way. And it's been very helpful. And I've seen a lot of growth for some of my less confident students in their math skills. And I know we're talking a lot about math, and that one was just, math is not my subject. Math is not the subject that I am confident teaching. So I wanted something to help me really target those kids that were struggling, because I felt like I was missing that when I was trying to do the whole group instruction and stuff. Like it just wasn't working, and I needed something else, and this has become a lifesaver.
Oh, 100%. I just found that quote, and it's such a good quote. I don't know if it's Catlin's, but on 57, it's the sage on the stage. That's like, yeah. And she talks a little bit about students being, passive learners, where you teach at them and hope they take that in. And I know I tried a math concept, and I'm like, you know what? I really want to test this station rotation theory. I feel like I'm having success, but I don't know for sure. So I took the concept of volumes. Our last unit was surface area. And I whole class instruction, and they were so quiet and so diligent taking notes. And I'm like, oh no, I'm like, is this the way? Did I make a mistake? And it was the unit that required reteaching, because it was the one unit, this one outcome where students were just lost. Even though to me, standing up there and teaching and the room is quiet, you can't assume that kids are learning just because the room is silent and you're talking. That's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So it was wild to see, actually. It's like, sorry, kids, we will do this in stations.
Yeah.
And you raise a good point that this is not necessarily quiet, because they're supposed to engage with each other. They're supposed to engage with their material. So when they interact with everything like that, yeah, the volume's going to get a little bit higher than usual, perhaps, especially if it's kind of I'm talking at the front and you're there listening. But that could be adjusted, obviously, and discussed as a whole class, right? I also have to say that, again, coming back to the complexity of learners in my classroom, there are some students who have like significant challenges, whether it's cognitive delays or autism or you name it, it's there. So no matter what kind of learners you have in front of you, this is a model that could work. And they do talk a little bit about that in chapter 3. What about this? What about that? So I also was like, let me test how good this is, because I don't know if this kid will get as much as this other friend. And I just think you open up a different way for them to interact with the material. So then you get a different level of understanding. And then I found some of the kids who didn't have challenges and were like, I got this, I get that the first time, like the ones who always want more. Well, it was really neat to have them go through this, because they would come and they would challenge, like, but miss, what about this? Miss, what about that? So it actually brought some component that I wasn't necessarily expecting, through the ability for them to have that time to kind of dissect it, look at it, and then when they're at my station, say, hey, miss, when I was at that station down there, like, I was wondering about such and such. So we had really, really rich discussion and continue to have some. So I think that's pretty powerful.
I love that. Having those discussions, giving those like student autonomy is so important. And I think going back to your point too, it is going to be a little loud, but a little bit of chaos is part of the magic. That's what makes it work.
But I think it's what the students are going to remember as well. Like, they're not going to remember, oh my God, when I was in grade 8, we got to do all these worksheets. Like, they're not going to remember that. They're going to be like, oh, I got to like do some hands-on activities and it really helped me learn like how to do different things, right? Like, and I think that's like when in chapter 3, she talks about like the whole jigsaw idea and multilingual learners um and ASD and their literacy needs. Have any of you like kind of experienced any of that kind of happening as you've um kind of dived into this, or had any ideas of how to like implement that into a classroom or work with a teacher to help with that? Like, what ideas do we have when we read on that, I guess?
Well, I think and it relates to also what Aurelie was just saying, and that idea of um, other modes other than writing. Writing is so hard. Writing is the hardest thing. And so when you have um, opportunities for the children, like you said, Aurelie, the author Caitlin, she has the kids turn and talk lots of times. She suggests that many times, that to use the other modalities and other ways of learning. And so it brings the engagement, but it also brings the opportunities to share more verbally. And also, suddenly sometimes these kids will pop up out of nowhere. They've had to struggle with writing for so long. Writing's not their thing. And suddenly you see them as a leader when they're having to defend in a debate, or there's just a discussion between the two of them at a station, or whatever. And suddenly, wait a minute, who's who's that kid? Because it's only been writing, for the most part. And so suddenly these other skills are exposed. And that can also lead to, I think you can get some really good, soft anecdotal. I don't really like those words, but you can get some really good data. Like, it doesn't always have to be. It can be very formative and in the moment. And Aurelie, you were talking about debriefing and teachers really self-reflection. And part of that is that data gathering of, and something can turn into an informal screener that you didn't ever dream that, oh, who knew that was going to show up today and they were going to be so verbal, and wow, that's great to know that they have those verbal skills. Who knew? So I think it's the idea of, she talks about being intentional all the time, including, but even if something kind of shows up in the moment, you can be intentional reflecting on it and doing your intentional organizing next time, um, based on that kind of data.
Yeah, and I was going to jump into, like, I think that is really good too. I am at a French immersion school, so then for the vocabulary and the development and feeling comfortable talking in a different language and normalizing that it's okay that you don't know everything, I found that was brilliant, exactly for the reasons you just listed there. So definitely, a way to assess their language, a way to see if they know the vocabulary or they don't know the vocabulary. So I thought that was yeah, French immersion or English school, whatever it might be. There's a place for that too. So we can't say that that's a barrier. I think actually this really strengthened the number of possibilities to being able to assess whether they understand the different language.
Absolutely. I've used not the station rotation model, but an idea from the book. And like we have science booklets, and my school purchased some stuff for the new science curriculum in grade 5. And so it's like lots of readings and questions, readings and questions, readings and questions. It's like dry as all get out. And so I try to like introduce the topic, bringing in a fun video, bringing in like a high level thinking question. But then I do have the kids read the material, but I offer them, you can write your answers down, or I've put a discussion board onto our learner management system where they can make a video answering the questions in a video. And so it's like a different modality because I have kids that don't like to write and apparently don't like to type either. So so I'm like, but it becomes a different way to do it. And I've like, so playing around with these things of different ways, I have kids that really like that. And you know, it's a great challenge for them, but then it also gives me that ability to like listen to what they're saying and then being like, oh, hey, what about this? I need you to go back and film another little clip and answer this question because I think you missed it or whatever. But it's something that they're interested in doing and they like doing it. So that was I found like that came out of this book. It's not quite in chapter 2 and 3, so it's a spoiler alert. Sorry.
I mean, UDL is on the cover. I feel like we're okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we're okay.
I
We got multiple means, people. We got multiple means.
But another thing you said, you know, talk about the multiple means of communication and showing their learning, like there was a specific example when I also teach in grade 4 at times. So I was in grade 4, again, French immersion class, just in case you didn't notice my accent. So I'm in there teaching them something, and I'm like, all right, we're going to use this new thing. This is one of your ways, and this is one of the centers. So I go through it. Okay, guys, you clickety clack, click, click, click. Yes, yes, yes. Everybody's okay and happy. Then the first group gets there and they're like, Miss, we don't know what to do. It's not working. And I was like, well, it's just me and 30 of you. So I guess one of you is going to have to be the teacher. And like, of course, they solved it. And then I had them teach me. So I really love that. Like, and there was a couple of minutes, and maybe you could say, oh, I wasn't prepared. Or just like, no, these kids are going to figure it out. And I think that, you know, if you think of making them ready for the future, I mean, technology is not going anywhere, whether you like it or not. So the fact that they were able to critically think about, okay, how are we going to solve that? Oh, did you get it? Did you get it? And then it was becoming a challenge of who was going to figure it out, how to make this thing work so they could submit that little video to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was brilliant, right? Like it was awesome.
The problem solving that they can do in stations when there's not a teacher that they can turn to immediately to give them the answer is super important, I think, moving forward. Like I have kids in my class that are very adult dependent and are scared to take chances without the adult right beside them. And so in this station, they go to stations and then they'll come out. I'm like, I can't, you have to ask your group members, ask the other people around you, because right now I have to work with these. And so we set those like parameters and boundaries up as I introduced everything. And like, what were the first few days a bit chaotic? Did we have to like figure out how we were starting the timer, how much transition time we needed, cutting back some of the, yeah, absolutely. All of those things come into play. And my stations probably look different than Hannah's, that would look different than Aureli's because of what is my comfort level and what is yours. And but that's where like in these first 2 chapters, it feels very like prescriptive. This is this, but you can change it to fit your needs, your subject, and everything. And like I love that there's always examples everywhere in this book.
Oh yeah, anywhere. And And one of the things I like, we've talked a lot about differentiating for students and making sure that they're comfortable, but I find the station rotation model um, comfortable for me, and then allows teachers to find some comfort. Not everyone who is an educator is really confident or comfortable speaking in front of the whole group of students all the time because it's stressful.
Is that
Definitely
right,
not
Hannah?
speaking from experience. So being able to take my class of 27 and break them down into groups of 10, it's a conversation now, not a lecture. And so even just for my comfortability and differentiating for me as an educator, this has been fantastic. I'm just like, oh, I can come in, we know what we're doing, we can go. And those kids who, have questions or who are afraid to speak in front of a big crowd, like me, can ask me in a smaller group.
And she
And
does
this is,
mention that. She does say
yeah.
that, and I think it's something that we intuitively sense is that, the kids are going to be, oftentimes for, a presentations,
Mhm.
working on a project and then presentations. And it's been a long time since I've had kids present to the whole class. I have groups that present to each other, or so that same kind of an idea that it's just a little bit less intimidating. And I think too, it's interesting that what you talk about comfort, Hannah, because I think there would also be another group of teachers, I wonder, who that feeling of losing that sense of control. Well, if I'm doing whole class teaching, I'm in control of the whole thing. And okay, but are they learning? So back to your thing about where that was that one lesson that had to be retaught, right? Because of
Mhm.
excuse the printer. Um, because of that. And so that feeling, I think once people see it going, so you get through the mess, right? You can actually, oh, wait a minute. Look what can get done. All of those things, all of those, the kids can problem solve, the kids are engaged, the kids are learning, the kids are engaged in appropriate struggle. And who doesn't learn from appropriate struggle? Problem solving, like you said, Jennifer.
Mhm.
So all of those things.
And that's real life too, right? Like, unfortunately, in life, you won't always have someone to guide you through your problems. So, it's like micro dosing that experience into their learning, which I think is brilliant. And then, you said something, but I lost my train of thought. But I was going to talk about something else. Like, I really like that in each chapter there was actually a section called reflect and discuss, because I was
Mhm.
like, when I read that I was like, blue, 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 blue. Okay, yeah. So then going to the staff room and blue, blue, blue there, right? And like just sharing the knowledge and say, did you guys see this book? Right? Like, it was just
Oh
great.
yeah.
And it provided again those opportunities not just to self reflect, not reflect, but to have the ability to say, hey, what do you guys think about this? Like, do you think I'm crazy for doing this? And then kind of more and more teachers are like, oh, well, what is that? Like, oh, well, I could summarize that because there's also summary bits at the end. But if you want to come and see, please feel free to come into my class. So, um, you know, talking about the model, we love it. We've stated that, but also the way her book was written, I found it really easy to say, okay, I'm going to read this chapter. I'm going to pause. I'm going to discuss. I'm going to think. I'm going to digest. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk. And then 2 chapters later, I was like, oh, okay, now I could like mold it to what I like to do and the group, like what I believe will serve the students I have in front of me, right? Because again, when my grade twos compared to the grade four class, I could do different things. So I didn't take the same risk there. And I think that that's the power and the beauty of this as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a good segue into like upcoming chapters. I know chapter 4 is all about that, like using data to help with the design. So it's like it's a good segue. Like we're getting there, and if you
Yeah,
just stick with it, you'll find success with it for sure.
absolutely. Yeah, so I think if we want to just like kind of we'll wrap up talking about these two chapters. I think we've covered mostly everything. But just to wrap it up, we're going to do a little bit of a tool talk. So, what is your favorite thing to use in the station rotation model or small group structure or sensory support that seems to help as you like kind of use this idea? What would be something that you'd be like, oh, if you're going to use this, I think teachers should maybe try this?
I'll
Okay, we'll
before
start with Hannah.
starting, yeah, I was like, before starting the station rotation, I would definitely hazard more of a teacher tool. Assess your own comfort level and see where you are comfortable relinquishing control, and just dip your toes in that. So maybe try 2 stations and you can float, like facilitate more like centers, and see where your comfortability is, and have that conversation with yourself of where can I have, like, let student autonomy take over from my need to be in control. So my tool would be just a journal for reflection. See where you can let go before you dive in.
I'm gonna jump right on that because I think I think you also need to make yourself a promise when you start. You say, okay, I'm gonna try it one time. Well, don't just do it one time. You got to commit to 2 or 3 times, because the first time could be a bad day, could be coming back from a holiday, could be whatever. Like, give yourself at least 2 or 3 times to kind of dabble into it, because the first time, especially if you're not used to something like this, it will feel uncomfortable. But then the second time, you're like, okay, yeah, I learned from my first time. So now, so 1 or 2 times, 3 times, maybe a week you could commit, but you can't just do it one time. And, a lot of the time we say there's not enough resources in school, right? But we've kind of dabbled into it a little bit. You can mix this or make this work whatever way you want. And when you are doing this station rotation model, like, they are getting the sensory, the attention, everything that they need to regulate is woven into this system. So you don't necessarily need another adult, but to Anna's point, if you don't feel comfortable and you're blessed with having an EA for a portion of your day, maybe that's when you start using it, right? But give yourself time and grace, I guess. I'm just mumbling and rambling.
It's all good. It's all good. Kathy, you have a unique perspective because you're not in the classroom full time anymore. And so you're going in. So like, you've read the book and you know the things. And if you walked into a classroom that was using centers or station rotation, what thing would you be like, oh, I hope the teacher's using this?
Yeah, and it's
Not to put you
interesting.
on the spot.
No. It's interesting to go in as a substitute teacher. I do a little bit of substitute teaching, even though I'm retired, and that's a bit of a thing to not, well, it's not my classroom, I can't. But I think in a way that even in that instance, and I know that's not what you're asking, Jennifer, but also when you have your own classroom, and this is related to what the other ladies were saying, but to use it as an opportunity and use pieces of the station rotation model as an opportunity. And so what I mean by that is, think about how probably aspects of station rotation, because you will continue to improve, the next school year will be better, different, et cetera, right? But partly because not only will you improve, but partly because, who are the fish in your aquarium each year? And so you have completely very, very different group of children from one year to the next. And so what I envision is, again, never getting caught up in, oh, I have to make this thing as outlined, in general, like we talked about before she starts talking about how all the ways you can be flexible with it. I have to make this work. And we've clearly spent an hour talking about how that's exactly not it. The ultimate goal is to use all of these tools and this model and all this stuff, all the how that she's laid out
Mhm.
to make sure that our students are having all the best of UDL. So they're able to advocate, they're able to, what's the other A word? That's the more important one. I'm trying to think, we'll think of it.
Agency.
Agency, yes. So that they have the agency, so that they're engaged, so that they have a variety, they're exposed to a variety of ways to participate in things. You know, as I spoke about before, where suddenly something will be, wow, who's this kid? Because suddenly they're doing something hands-on and they're suddenly a leader in their group. Oh no, you know, let's do it this way and let's do, you know, so all of that stuff comes about around their learning. So using all of this as the how or the pieces that work best for you and for your kids, and you guys interviewing your kids and getting the feedback from them is fantastic. So all of that, but always not having in the back of your mind, oh, I have to make this model work. No, you have to make the model work for take the pieces of it to work for the children in front of you.
Mhm.
So perhaps I've just restated what everyone else said, but I do
I
think
can
we do sometimes get hung up on, am I doing this right? Well, it's not about the model. The model should serve you.
totally. I can add a practical tool, Jen, if you
Yes,
want.
please. My
Where
AirPods just died.
AirPods
I
just died, and so now I had to switch my microphone.
and you still sound wonderful.
Perfect.
Um, have a fully stocked teacher station. You know, I definitely talked about taking the time for executive functioning and teaching my kids what to bring. They won't always. So make sure that where you are running your station, that it's fully stocked. If you need pencils or whiteboard markers, whiteboards, graph paper, whatever you need, make sure you have it on hand. One thing that having a strict time crunch, if you only have an hour, half an hour, sending students, oh, can you go get this? Oh, I need this. Or you look down and go, oh, I'm not prepared with this. Make sure your teacher station is fully kitted out so that you're not running around trying to find stuff when you're ready to just be with your kids.
Hannah,
I
we're
did
both
not do
junior
that.
high teachers.
And
I
I
think
have
that's the number one too. Now that you
totally, I
said
have a
it.
sign right behind my head that says, if aliens can find Earth, you can find a
Yes.
pencil. But can
And the
they?
kids will say,
Not
aliens
always.
haven't found Earth.
Or pencils, I guess.
Yeah.
So the learning's the most important piece in the teacher station. So I make sure that I'm kitted so that when kids come and sit down, we can just go and we don't spend half of the battle trying to find the tool for the job. So that would be my practical tool tip for someone trying to do this.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned it earlier, Hannah, but you brought up how you talked with the kids about where the stations could be in the classroom and using the physical environment. I skipped that step, but I let my kids, once we're in work mode, unless they're assigned to like the game station or to my station, they can be anywhere in the classroom. They don't have to be with their group members. They can be on their own if they choose to as well. So that flexible seating,
Mhm.
if you're comfortable with it, setting that out as a parameter before you get started has really been helpful for like my kids in my classroom and stuff. So I think those are great. Um, I guess to wrap it up, that's kind of our episode today, and someone's gonna have to edit this down so it's not super long.
Nah, it's all perfect. Take it all.
All good.
Yeah.
All good.
Next time we're back in, I don't know if it'll be all of us, the same ladies, or there'll be a few more of us, but we will be talking about data, differentiation, and executive functioning. So chapters 4 to 6 and chapter 9. So it was great talking with you all tonight, and I look forward to the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.